to the topic of consider H&H distributing building and alternatives for current fire station. You want to lead off, Chief Voss?
Kind of give a little bit of an update of what's going on. Rural Fire is looking at the H&H distributed building as a possibility of purchasing to move Rural Fire up there. There's been some talk and consideration that if they do purchase the building and do move, to move City Fire with it. As much as we work together and stuff, trying to keep that together. I believe it's kind of out here just to kind of get some input, some feelings, whether the city's possibly interested in this, and that kind of input. Is that the way you understand it, Mr. Mayor?
So their building plans are on hold then. The building we looked at here
That's
a year ago, maybe whenever it was.
That's on hold right now.
It's not in the city limits, is it?
It's not in the city limits.
Not currently.
Not very good access to the highway.
Not very good access to
Are there city services out there already?
The only thing is lights.
So in other words, if we would annex it into the city, we would have the expense of setting up city services.
There's water there, isn't there?
Water, but no sewer.
No sewer. Be a lot of infrastructure costs for us to do that. When we're already in a building we own, makes it extremely difficult for, especially if you're going to move the fire department all the way to the north end of town. It's not very centrally located.
Moving it from the population and
So,
Steve.
now,
You want to enter into this discussion at any point? Jump in.
It's just kind of something they're looking at. There's a lot of alternatives, things we got to look at as far as trucks and that stuff. And there are some concerns out there. Overall, the building up there would be a lot bigger. We have more room for the equipment, have more room for training. Some of those things are the pluses, but they do have the negatives too. I mean, that's where we're kind of at, just to see what some input is.
well, I can't believe the county commissioners would be happy about taking a building like that off the tax rolls out of the country, you know. Because that's a tremendous amount of tax dollars there. But
I talked to a few citizens that are concerned about this because they heard the rumor and come and asked them about it. One of them is an individual that owns property, and he says, I would much rather sell you property in central part of town and let you take more of my buildings and have that space. If you're going to invest money, invest it in the community that's right here. So.
well, the other question is how many fires do we have in the north end of town versus the south end or the west end, where you're, you know, a little more better located versus being out in the extreme north end of town that's actually not in town yet. So it would be and then there would be the cost. We haven't seen any figures, so.
That's the problem right now is Rural Fire is still trying to negotiate with H&H to see if they can even agree on the price to purchase the building.
Well, Rural Fire can do what they want to do. I mean,
They can't.
we can't tell Rural Fire what they want to
absolutely
do.
not.
I mean, if Rural Fire wants to move up there and thinks it's the right move for them, they've obviously weighed out the options and figured that out. I guess the question probably becomes is what are we going to do? Where do we fit into the puzzle? I mean, if we don't want to go up there, we don't have to, I'm
City
sure.
doesn't want to, we don't have to. We're
Right.
by no means obligated.
I think we're getting a little off track here on telling Rural Fire what they can do and what they can't do.
As far as the buildings and stuff, one of the biggest concerns I got is our ladder truck is on the rural side. And you may not be familiar, there is a lease over there where rural has a lease with the city on that building for 99 years. It ends in 2069, I believe. So that would be an issue if rural did move and city stayed here on what to do with that building. But right now, that is the only place we can house that ladder truck. So that's something that, if this all does come about, that we're going to have to consider as city council. And
How much do they pay per year?
There is a $1 lease on that.
Okay, so if, for $99, we can let them out their lease. I mean, if you want to look at it.
They don't pay anything anymore.
Well, so I'm just saying, so that's really not, that's not really an issue.
And they can't do anything with that building as part of the lease without city council's approval. So I'm just trying to throw out all the facts, is that's gonna be a concern for them, that's really gonna affect the city if they do move and the city doesn't move. That's one of my biggest concerns right now, is that ladder truck.
We could still leave it there.
Right.
If we own it.
Right.
I mean, and we,
Right, we've got the lease.
You don't have any plans to maintain 2 buildings if this would come about, do you, Steve?
I'm a city volunteer.
He's a city
rural
volunteer.
patron.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
So, I mean, this is kind of we're just kind of trying to get some input, to see if city council didn't want to think about this at all. If they were possibly thinking about it, there's a lot of hoops to jump through. And we do have the lot across the street that we purchased, tore down the building. Stuff can be built there too. I mean, there's a lot of different avenues here. But right
and I
now,
understand that having the mutual aid between the two, if you have so many volunteers, you have a fire, who goes to what building to get the trucks that you need, I understand that, but if you guys can work that out, just like they do in a big town, I mean, they all go to certain specific areas.
one of the other biggest concerns I got is we got a lot of city guys that go out on rural calls. And if their gear's here and the rural trucks are there, it's gonna affect response of rural fire quite a bit. But
And that's, again,
That's
that's a
something they
rural
have to
decision, you know, that's something they have to think about.
So kind of what I'm getting is public safety is really not too keen on city fire moving up there.
Well, and technically, is rural fire made definite, I mean, they're not 100% sure, they're still working details, they may not even move yet.
Right.
And if they do, they might move to a totally different location. So they've got money, they want to build new if they can. If they go up there, they're going to have to modify and everything else, so they know they've got a lot to choose from, so.
Eric, my question is their move contingent upon whether we're gonna go along with them? Is that what they're looking for? Are they looking for us to purchase part of this building or throw in a percentage of it, or are they gonna lease us area? I can't believe they're gonna buy a building that size for probably the dollars I'm thinking, and then lease to us for $1 for a year for 99 years. So,
I think what they were kind of looking at was some of the possibility of some in-kind from the city, of like the lights and water, kind of like if they built
Sure.
here, and snow removal possibly, and the grass being mowed, and some of those types of things. It's kind of a strange situation. There's 2 meetings. I was able to make one meeting I couldn't because of families, and I think some things might have changed between the 2 meetings. It's kind of, and it's all back and forth on what they can get agreed with H&H on the cost of the building.
well, my other concern is this, of course, getting it into the city is one thing, but, we have to have access from the highway, and the state has to be on board with that. And
Right now,
sometimes they're not as easy to deal with on those things as,
there's only that one access onto 15, and then you can take the dirt road back around to the runs and get back on. Yeah.
time-wise,
Access-
if you're looking for time, which is of the essence in a fire emergency, you would want to have immediate access to the highway.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's one major concern, and that's
Yeah.
something they've got to address.
Okay. I'm just kind of feeling where everybody's at here as far as what they're looking at.
The biggest issue we have right now is we're just overgrowing, between the 2 departments, we're overgrowing the facility as it stands now. There's really no places to have classes, that kind of stuff, and that's what, we're trying to see what we can better for the community as a whole.
Was there not enough room next to the fire hall to build a building adequate enough for that, or?
There is, but then you're just adding on to, what I'm understanding is there's some concern of adding on to the building as it stands, being from 1940s, and adding on to it that needs some repairs and some maintenance done to it. There's some of that concerns, and then trying to meet some new fire code regulations is another concern with adding on. But it's just like if we move up there, there's going to be several hoops, whether we
Well, the other thing is if you move up there, you're still gonna have to modify the building. Why not build here and modify what you have? What you already own, and where you're, you know, better located now. What rural fire decides to do will be up to them, but my thinking is if we're gonna represent the city, we wanna be in the middle of the city as much as possible. Now, I don't know, I can't speak for everybody else here, but that's just my thought on it is, I'd hate to see us move all the way to the north end of town and get into a building where, you know, I would rather, if we're gonna spend some money on the existing building that we have, and if it needs to be upgraded, then let's, you know, maybe look at that as an alternative avenue of trying to upgrade the building that we have, and then making it feasible for them to build next to it. I mean, those are always options that we could look at, because I hate to see the two split up because you work well together. But, you know, if it push comes to shove and they want to go, they're going to go.
Yeah, that's their choice. And that's one of my biggest concerns is just, we do work together. I'd like for us to stay together.
Sure.
The other concern is that ladder truck, which you guys are aware of. I think we got that building there that city council will have some control over because the way the lease is written. We can't just let that building go because that's the only place to put that
I
ladder
don't see
truck.
us doing that, so I don't really think that's an issue.
I think the biggest thing is just to kind of get your guys' opinion, whether you thought city was interested in this or really not that very much interested. It's kind of the take I'm taking